All right, all right. Good morning, everybody. Patrick Kenny here, 10 a.m. on a Friday, and excited to go through this training with you today. Abbey Woodcock joins me, and we are going to cover something that is pretty interesting topic, and I think a lot of us need this right now. It's, you know, getting our minds right, shifting our mindset when we're in a situation that's of a challenge is often hard to do and avoid. So trying to do it ourselves, and I know from personal experience, when I'm overwhelmed with things, it's really hard for me to see the forest through the trees. So, having the right mindset, not to get all woo woo or anything like that, but having the right mindset is key. When you sit down and you do your work and you're able to think about what you need to focus on and turn off all the garbage, all the head trash. That is something that's key to being productive. At least that's in my experience. So my friend Abbey Woodcock is here today, and she's going to show us simple mindset shifts. See, I need a mindset shift that we can use to create offers, especially in this new economy. So how we can shift our mindset and turn off all the garbage that's going on and really focus on our business so we can create offers that will propel our business forward in this time of uncertainty. Okay, so I'm bringing Abbey Woodcock on here in just a second, but before I do that, I'm going to make you the same offer I've made on every live stream, and that is to donate to the Freelance Co-op. This is Abbey Woodcock's, this is her baby. She's created this fund for the Freelance Co-op. She's doing some fantastic things there. I've donated to that. I want you to donate to that because of all the good mindset shifts that you'll have out of donating, because there are people who are struggling to even think about paying for food. They've had clients that have dried up. Maybe they're not maybe not everybody's in a great situation. I'm not saying that, if you're in a bad situation, you have to give to this. But if you find yourself in some level of abundance where you're okay, you've got the war chest, you're working through, you still have clients, and you can give 20, 30, 50, $100, whatever, to ease someone else's burden, I would invite you to do that. So check out freelancecoop.org to give to that. And just as an added bonus and as an added carrot for that, Abbey has offered to graciously get on the phone for 15 minutes for a one-on-one consult. She's in high demand. Actually, she doesn't even take clients. So she's going to get on the phone with you for 10 to 15 minutes to help you shift your mindset and get some ideas about offers. She is amazing at that. So please take her up on that offer. All you have to do is email Abbey at abbeywoodcock.com, your receipt, and say, hey, I want my consultation. To add to that, if you would like to learn about YouTube ads or get some ideas for offers and videos for your business and what I think you should do when it comes to advertising your business, I'm going to mirror that offer and provide a 15-minute consult to anyone who wants to take me up on that. So make your donation for the receipt to me, and I'll just put my email here on the screen. So you can email your donation receipt to patrick@getyoubooks.com, and I will get you booked in for that free consult. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Abbey on, and she's going to talk about some mindset shifts so we can create really great offers. Hey, Abbey.
Hey,
Good morning. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. I am great. My kids are in the background, so if they pop up, everybody can say hello. I've threatened their life, so this may turn into a different type of video, but yeah.
Well, everyone's at home, so I think they'll extend some grace, especially since we're all, homebody workers anyway. This is normal for us, right? It's like, everybody's talking about being home, and like I'm getting relatives texting me. I'm like, oh, you mean I have to stay at home on a Thursday and work online? Wow. So what's going on in the world?
Yeah, exactly.
This is normal for us. So, well, I'm sure nobody's gonna fault you for having your family there. So you're keeping everybody safe. Well, thanks for jumping on here. I'm really excited to learn about this. The mindset shifts for creating offers that sell in the new economy. What is that all about, and why do we need it?
Yeah. So I want to first start by saying, like, I'm going to present this stuff, but this is like a work in progress for me. I had a call with a good friend of mine on Monday, and basically like just blew my mind of like, oh my God, I was thinking about this stuff all wrong. Like I've been doing some market research, and I had some market research calls this week, and I was about to ask him on the call on Monday, like, hey, I have all these market research calls scheduled, but now everything's changed. So should I cancel all those calls? And he's like, no, you should do your market research based on the fact that everything's changed. And I was like, yeah. So just like, I think we're all kind of in this weird kind of space right now of uncertainty and trying to figure this out. And like, we don't all quite know what it means for our businesses yet. And so, we were talking before we hopped on that we're both kind of a little bit exhausted. And I think that's part of like the mental load that we're carrying as well, of like just wondering all the time of like, oh, what's going to change tomorrow? And so I just want to like kind of start by saying like, we're all in this together and we're all kind of in the same spot. So I'm going to give you a couple tools and hopefully they're reminders for me too, on how to think of things. So.
Oh, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at my own stuff in the past and like, oh yeah, I had some good words of wisdom that I should now use again for myself. So yeah, I'm as much in this boat as you and probably everyone on this stream. So I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome.
Let's share. So let me share your screen here real quick. You ready to go with your slides?
Yeah, ready to go.
Awesome. All right, cool. I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to sit back and take some notes. So we've got a couple dozen people live on the stream. So if you have questions for Abbey or for me on this, I mean, I'm more for Abbey on the mindset stuff. Please put your comments in. If you're on Facebook, you can put that on there, and on YouTube, they should show up on this stream. There's a bit of a delay, so if you have questions, drop those in, and I will do my best to get those answered. All right, take it over.
Perfect. All right, cool. Yeah, so we're talking about mindset shifts for creating offers that sell in the new economy. And so what we're going to be talking about is thinking about just not mindset of like, there's a lot of stuff out there right now about like meditating and eating healthy and taking walks, all that stuff. Yeah, perfect. Do that. What I'm going to talk about is a little bit how to think about this economy and how to kind of shift your perspective so that we can have a business and an ethical business. I'm not going to be like how to make a ton of money off people suffering from coronavirus. Like that's not what we're talking about. But
how to kind of profits 2000.
Exactly. But how to kind of see the opportunities through the chaos is kind of what I'm thinking about. So so my son is home. I don't know if you know the movie this is a screenshot from, but my son is home. He's in 6th grade and he's reading this book called The Maze Runner, which was also a movie. And I was thinking about like kind of this as a metaphor because this is what I'm doing now is taking 6th grade books and making them into business lessons. But so basically the whole point of The Maze Runner is this kid gets dropped into this like new world and he doesn't know any of the rules. He doesn't know how things work. And basically there's a thing in the center of like a village in the center. And then on the outside, there's this maze. And what they discover is that every night the maze shifts. And so over time, they start to discover as they go through this maze, like that it shifts in predictable ways. And so I thought that was like kind of a good metaphor for what we're all going through is we feel like we've kind of been dropped into this new world and we're not sure what the rules are and the rules seem to be changing every day. So I thought that was interesting because it's like if we, kind of ride this out and start to look at the patterns that are emerging, we can start to see some opportunities. And with that said, nobody knows what those opportunities and answers are yet. So I want to like preface that by there's been a lot of advice out there of like the best way to do whatever. It's like nobody's been through this. Nobody has, even people that have been through like economic downturns or disasters, nobody's been through this kind of lockdown pandemic situation before. So we're all kind of learning as we go and we're trying to figure out how this maze is going to play out. So it's okay if you don't know yet. So two like kind of perspectives that I've seen that I think are wrong is like, number one is like, let's just hustle and like spin our wheels and go as fast as we can. That's kind of the Gary Vee model of like, just work your tail off until you can't work anymore. I don't think that's super productive because again, this maze is shifting every night and we don't really know what it looks like yet. So you could be hustling and not get anywhere doing that. And then the other one is like the Pollyanna, like roses and sunshine, everything's going to be great. I don't think that's super useful right now either, because there are some problems. And you mentioned the freelancer fund, I've heard from over 500 freelancers and things are not good for a lot of different industries. And that is just a fact. And pretending like oh, all the restaurants and all the travel and all the entertainment industries are just going to be great. We just got to wait it out. We don't know how long this is going to be. And so saying like everything's going to be roses, that's not what I'm going to say today either, of like, hey, just find the positive. Like, yes, but like, let's do it strategically in a way that's not like delusional,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's somewhere in the middle of that. I think it's, keep moving forward, but just shuffling papers for the sake of shuffling papers serves no purpose. And if we don't know where the destination is, we could drive all over the map. And then until we know exactly where we're going, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about some questions. So since nobody knows what the answers are, let's start by asking the right questions. And again, my friend Ross O'Loughlin is like really helped me with this just this week of like, let's think of how we can think about this and what questions we can start asking ourselves. So the first one is like, let's talk about the best perspective and the best way to look at this, because again, there's like the doom and gloom, like, we're all done for. And then there's the like, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. Let's think about like, what is a good perspective to take, even if we're struggling. If you're in an entertainment industry or your clients are, like, how can we look at this in a different way? And so I don't know how many people that are on the live stream know my background. I have been in disaster response since I was 12 years old. So my dad was a part-time missionary. We would travel around. And then as an adult, I learned how to teach people about chainsaws and disaster response. And I've been on scene at every major hurricane since Katrina when I was 19 years old. And so one thing that I've learned from military veterans that I work with a lot in these disaster zones is this phrase called embrace the suck, which is a really cool phrase. Because I love that it doesn't downplay that like this situation is not great for a lot of people, and it does suck, and like being home and being cooped up or trying to figure out new markets, like all of this is difficult, it's new, it's challenging. But this idea of like, that's what makes it kind of fun, like if you're in a disaster response area or you're in a kind of a combat zone, if you talk to military veterans that have faced combat, it's this really weird thing where they're like, it was the worst and best times of my life. And I think that this will be something that we'll see as well, of like, this was one of the most challenging times, but there was really great things that came out of it too. And so thinking about like, what is fun about this? And what can we like, I love a challenge. And so having more conversations with my market, like I'm in more conversations now than I've ever been in my business, which is really, really cool and fun. That doesn't mean it doesn't suck in ways and it's not challenging in ways, but like, let's embrace this and like figure out it as a challenge. That's one way to kind of perspective shift that I've been keeping in the back of my mind. Like, yeah, this is terrible, but that's what makes it fun. And we're going to look back on this of like, what a pivotal moment for our businesses, figuring all this out.
I agree 100%. And to just kind of mirror that, I mean, it's a similar boat. Like I'm not just hustling for hustle's sake, but it's like, okay, what can I do right now? This does suck. And there's like, okay, what's my business going to look like in a month? But in a similar boat, I've talked to more people through email, on Skype and all than I have. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to in the past week compared to the last year. And so that's exciting. It's also nerve-wracking, but that's such a great statement to embrace the suck. It's uncertainty and certainty at the same time, but knowing that, like you said, we're all in it together kind of gives it that it's, we all have our perspective. It's going to be great and it's going to suck at the same time. So I think that's a great statement.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so another like thing that I learned in the disaster response world, and this was something that came up with my conversations this week, is like focusing outward. And so it's really difficult to hate your own situation when you're in a place of service. And like, I know what you're doing right now, Patrick, with these live streams that you're not making any money off of. It's just a way to focus outward and say like, what can I give to my community?
Yep.
And what you'll learn from that is like, number one, when we give, like this is like a human condition, like when we give to others or we do something without any expectation of return, like it creates endorphins, it creates serotonin, it makes us really happy. And you start to see like you're not the one that has it the worst. Like there's other people in worse situations, and helping others through that, whether it's through giving your time or your content or your when I grew up really religious, and it was time, talents, treasure that we would talk about all the time. So whether it's giving money, giving your time, or giving your talents, focusing outward and thinking like, what can I do for others? Even if you're in a difficult situation, there's always something you can do. Donating to a food bank, or, doing these live stream content things, or donating to the fund, whatever it is. Kind of when you do that, you start to gain a perspective that's really helpful of like, you know what, like things are going to be okay, and we're all going to be okay. And you'll also see other people that are doing the same thing, which really gives you kind of hope for humanity. So the news likes to cover like people getting in fistfights over the toilet paper, but there's a lot more people doing good, I think, than.
I mean, bad news doesnn't sell. I mean, that's the thing. They would like, oh, if everything were great, they wouldn't sell as many, subscriptions of newspaper. But to add what you said, what you said, the perspective that we can give people, and where someone can go, oh, wait, you too? I'm not the only one. That alone has immense power. I mean, maybe you can give to the fund, maybe you can't. And what you're doing with the fund, that is the perfect example. Like you're making massive deposits into the goodwill account of your market. You're not doing that for financial gain. You're just going, how can I help? How can I rally people and really serve those that are in the most need? And that's such a noble thing. And this is part of like just my perspective. And this is such great content. Just to give my perspective, seeing like kind of in the middle of the, not being the hustler just to hustle for hustle's sake, right? And not being like, let's go, have flowers in our hair and, twirl in the gardens. But in the middle where you're going, okay, I can't get on the road and drive to where I want my business to be. I can't get to the destination that I thought I wanted before this, but I can plan. I can look at the map. I can control the elements that I know are in my purview right now. And maybe that's helping others. Maybe it's doing a live stream like this, giving to the fund, taking some extra toilet paper you have that you've stockpiled from, Costco, and giving it to a neighbor who doesn't, whatever it is. But you can do something today to move forward.
Yeah, definitely. And so question 2 is, and I got this from this guy who's teaches musicians how to, mostly music producers. He did a live stream. His name is Mike Monday. He did a live stream yesterday and asked this question. I thought it was such a great question. In this time of scarcity, what is there an abundance of? Because there's a lot of things that we have an abundance of that we've never had an abundance of before. Like time with our families is one of them. A lot of people just have time in general. Like I work with a lot of freelancers that for the most part are totally overwhelmed. And now all of a sudden it's like there's a slowdown. And so an abundance of time, what does that mean for you? Well, that means that you have time to now take care of some of the stuff in your business that maybe you've been putting off because you just haven't had time, like publishing content or learning more about your craft or whatever it is. What are there things that you have an abundance of right now that you didn't before? Communication with my market is one that I mentioned. There's a lot of people out there that have needs that they haven't had before. There's an abundance of homeschooling parents. Like this is crazy. Like it's never happened like this before, where the vast majority of parents are homeschooling their kids. So what does that mean for you? Maybe it doesn't mean anything, but maybe like there's an opportunity there. So kind of just listing out like what are the things that all of a sudden there's an abundance of that we've never had before.
Maybe an abundance of gratitude for what teachers go through every day.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
For the parents listening.
Abundance of empathy for but yeah, we talked about this before too, of like, there's also an abundance of people on social media right now, like, Facebook ads and YouTube ads, like the opportunities are like in a way that we've never seen before. Like I run Facebook ads and my cost per lead has literally been cut in half, which means I'm getting double the leads for the same price. Like that is an abundance that I've never had before. And so there's a lot of things out there. If we just think, okay, like there's a lot of things that are scarce right now, but where is there abundance, and like what can we learn from that? So that's a question that I've been asking myself this week as well.
Yeah, that's cool. great. That's great perspective. What is there an abundance of right now? And I would say for anyone watching this live or in the recording, like there's an abundance of bad news. So I would recommend everybody watching, turn off the news. If it's bad enough, you're going to hear it. If it's an emergency, you're going to get it on your phone. Please turn off the news. You're going to be much happier, sleep more. You have an abundance of opportunity to rest, to exercise. I mean, I know everyone talks about like rest and exercise, but you have to balance everything. So from my perspective, get some rest, turn off the news, let your mind work through what you'd like your scenario to be by that abundance of time. I know I've been doing this, meditate more. And I have all these ideas of like, oh, this set of live streams was an idea that came out of that abundance of time. This was something that I could do. So you never know what's going to come out of you actually sitting down and not hustling, but giving your mind time to actually work.
Yeah, that's definitely my perspective. And one thing, one random abundance thing, I posted this on my Instagram yesterday, but I have a friend who's a chef in California, and his restaurant was shut down, and they ended up with an abundance of perishable items, including cheese. And so he texted me because he's like, hey, the restaurant's not open. I know you like cheese. We don't have anything to do with this. Do you want some cheese? And he sent me a giant box of cheese. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, talk about abundance. I have now an abundance of cheese. Like, it's just stupid little things that like, oh, like what, because things are scarce, there's also like another side to that coin. And when I lived in Buffalo in 2006, there was this big storm and knocked out all the power in the city for like a week and a half. And my friend worked, and there was snow everywhere. The roads were you couldn't get anywhere. My friend worked as a server at Red Lobster, and same thing happened. Red Lobster had lost power. They called all the employees and said, hey, if you can get here, anything in the freezer is yours because it's just going to go bad and we're going to have to throw it away. So we were in the middle of no power, in the middle of winter, grilling lobster on the grill because there was an abundance of lobster that was about to go bad. So, like, I mean, I know these things are silly, but like, if you really, take 5-10 minutes and start to make a list and start to think of like, what are some things that like I have an opportunity to do that I never had before.
Well, and I'll add to that. That's a fantastic story. That's like, when you have lemons, make lemonade or find a friend who has vodka and have a party. But, when you have that kind of opportunity, right, the business owner could just go throw it out or whatever, but that restaurant owner, so the person giving you the cheese, right, that is memorable. You're going to remember them. So when it's like, hey, where do you want to go eat? Well, they have made a deposit in your Goodwill account. You're going to want to support them. Just that reciprocity is a natural thing. And this lobster story, here it is 14 years later, you're still telling the lobster story, and that's continuing to pay off for them. So what deposits could you all do? I mean, how could you help other people? And if you have an abundance of time and you want to do stuff, who could you help? Like the restaurant owners. I mean, it's just in the state of overwhelm that we just kind of spin and don't do anything. And Abby, I mean, for you, I think you sharing your perspective on this is such a fantastic asset, because I think, especially for anyone who's gone through like the last economic recession, you may think maybe you're in whatever spot you're in, maybe you can't afford to give to a fund. Maybe, you've got too many things going on and you can't go out and give your time to a shelter because we can't get out of our homes, whatever. But you can give someone your perspective. Did you go through the economic crash of 2008? How did you get through it? How were you feeling in the middle of it? And on the outside of that, it's like, oh, so very rarely do we come on the other side of things and not end up better off in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so perspective, never underestimate. My addition to this, in talking about abundance and the stories you're telling, is my perspective is valuable. And if my perspective is valuable, your perspective is valuable. And it will help someone who is in a state of overwhelm, who's fearful. If you say, look, we're going to be fine. There were bad times before. There were bad times 100 years ago. We're going to get through this and be okay. Even just that assurance is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And so kind of to move on to the next is like, it seems like the opposite question, but it's really the same question, like from marketing side. Like, so with this new abundance, what are the new pain points? I mentioned homeschooling my kids. Like that brings on a whole new set of marketing like pain points or products that I'm looking for that I've never looked for before. Restaurant owners, I think, let me see if it's the next slide. No. Okay. I'll give some examples in a few minutes, but restaurant owners are now struggling technically with how to do social media. Or we have a restaurant that in town that just started online ordering for the first time ever yesterday. Like that's a new pain point for them that they've never had before. Delivery is a new like pain point that a lot of restaurants haven't done delivery, and now they're doing delivery. Like, so there's a lot of new marketing pain points and pain points that we're in a position to solve, especially if we're in the online marketing space. But even if you're a musician, what are the new pain points? Like my son plays saxophone. I've been kind of sharing this with everybody because I still haven't found somebody that's doing like online saxophone lessons, like I don't know how to teach saxophone. And so this is a new pain point. Like me looking for a saxophone instructor has never been a pain point before. And so what in your market or in the people that you serve, like what are they struggling with this new kind of shift in their lifestyle? And, Zoom is a really good example of a company. They've had technical challenges this week because they've been so overwhelmed, but they, gave away free accounts to teachers who are now struggling with distance learning. For us to do a Zoom call is like, oh, like that's every day. We know how to do that. But for a teacher, they've never done that before. So
person knowledge,
yeah. So what are these things that people are struggling with that they've never struggled with before? And there is a long list of those things. And if you start to see them, you can start to see like, where are the things that I can help people solve?
Hey, Abby, do you want to riff on a few ideas for people that are on the live stream? We've got
absolutely
30 people on here. When you mentioned the restaurant, so we have a lot of people who are consultants around copy and persuasion and ads and things like that. The first thing that came to my mind when you mentioned restaurant, if you have an abundance of time and restaurant owners are struggling with how to communicate that they're open and they do drive-through or pick up, whatever. Imagine this. If you reached out to, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 business owners that own restaurants in your town, and you said, hi, I'm Patrick. I write copy or I do YouTube ads. I would like to help. I'm not going to charge you because we are in uncertain times. We're all quarantined at home. I have a skill that can help you right now. Could I help you write some ads because I know how to do persuasion? Or could I write your social media posts? Or could I write an email for you and show you how to communicate with your customers 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week to let them know that you're open and that you're ready to fulfill their order? Could I do that for you? Imagine the quarantine ends or all this BS ends in a few weeks. You think when you say, hey, now that we're good and your business is surviving, let's talk about a long-term relationship. How many do you think are going to say, yeah, let's continue working together?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, depositing these goodwill things, people remember that stuff. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, give away all your services for free, but just little things to help them. Like, hey, here's a graphic that's been helpful for people to understand how our delivery process works. Yep. Or, here's what I've seen other restaurants doing really well. And I'd love to see if like people want to put comments about the industry or the business that they're in. And we can I'd love to riff on like some opportunities if you're not seeing any in your industry, because they're in every industry. Travel industry is another one that's really struggling right now. But to talk about abundance, there's an abundance of really cheap flights right now that you can schedule. I know American, at least, like there's no change fees if you book something in March all the way out through January. So like I'm planning vacation for my family for the rest of the year. Like there's an abundance of people that are dreaming about traveling that can't travel right now. And, like how can we start to plan out the end of the year? Because, like there is going to be travel. It's not that travel's ending. So, how can you serve that market?
Yeah, there's going to be pent up demand, like you're saying. That's a great idea.
And so, like other industries, entertainment, music. I mentioned kind of the saxophone lessons. I have a musician that's in town that's done actually some performances here at the Co-op. He did a live stream last night. It was like an all request live music stream. He plays keyboard and some other stuff. And he just said, hey, if you $5, like you can watch the live stream for free, but if you want to request, he just put his like Cash App account up and was like, $5 Cash App. I'll take any requests and I'll try and play it for you. Like that was a huge opportunity that I thought was so great because entertainment is something that people need. Like we're all stuck at home. Like we want music, we want art, we want all these things. So
we want distraction. Absolutely. Well, so we've got a question from Janice. I'm going to put this on the screen, but to add to the whole travel thing here, like for anyone in the travel and luxury, you know, like the leisure industry, you're going to have pent up demand. You know, so if Abby's looking at vacations, look, I mean, all these people have kids pent up at home. They're going to want to get out. Like, you know, Sherry and I we had planned to go out west and go to Yellowstone, and you know, there's going to be a run on rentals and all this stuff as soon as the all clear comes. So for those in the travel market that are looking like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to cancel, start communicating with them daily. Here's what I know. Here's what to plan for. Here's what's going to happen. Give them hope. Deposit that goodwill. Hey, when the all clear is ready, get with me as fast as you can because everyone's going to flood out to go travel somewhere. Then the ticket prices are going to go up higher. You can lock in discounts now. Right. So that's one way on the travel industry. As far as Janice is here, makeup artistry. She'd love to know how she could deposit goodwill without being in proximity of the client or talent.
I love this one because I suck at makeup. So makeup is something that I hire for every time I go to a live event. I have somebody do my makeup in the morning because I'm terrible at it. Now, let's go back to like, what is there an abundance of? There is abundance of people working from home who have never had to figure out lighting, makeup to do on their Zoom calls. Like you see, I'm like no makeup today because I was like, I didn't even want to deal with it.
No, you look great.
Oh, thanks. But so thinking about makeup, I'm like, okay, so what are some makeup tips for people who are going to be in like blue light conditions at home on their computer? Like, how can I still look professional at work? You know, those are questions that are in abundance now. People are not used to doing makeup for this particular purpose. Or like, what are some things, you know, other questions I have is like, I buy makeup on a regular basis. Like if I'm stuck and the stores aren't open for the next several months, what are some things that I need to know? Like I found out later than I should that mascara, it doesn't last forever. Like it's not good for your eyes to put like 3-month-old mascara on. So like, what are some questions? Like what are the abundance of questions that you could see somebody that's at home for the first time doing their own makeup? What's some good products that I can get at my local grocery store, which is the only thing that's open? Like, where do I go? There's just a million different, like, and you would even know in the industry more than I do about, I'm just like riffing off the questions that I have and that I would, start searching and Goodwill looking. And then again, if you're the one answering all these questions for me when I can't hire you as to do my makeup, when I'm looking for somebody, I'm going to be like, oh, Janice was so helpful. I learned so much. She's the one that I want to do makeup. There's a whole bunch of different things that people are asking now that they've never been asking before.
Well, and that's a very good point. And like you are a consumer of that. And it's like, right. Well, immediately it's like, oh yeah, well, I've got lighting, I've got this, and, and you and I have this, this struggle and curse of knowledge and our expertise as well, where we have to have people go, oh yeah, have you thought about that? It's like, oh man, that's a good idea. And then we give the same advice to someone else, or we've given that advice before, right? That's why we're made to have community, and where we've had that removed. Janice, I would add to that what is the element of community that you can instill in your market virtually, right? Like what can you want to do? So YouTube ads is my specialty. So I immediately go start a YouTube channel, do some YouTube ads showing people address Abby's questions where she's like, oh, I didn't know about mascara being expired. I didn't know about this. I didn't know about this. And you can go through and do video tutorials. Here's how you want to do the lighting when you're doing your makeup. Here's how you want to do a smoky eye or whatever it is. You could put those out into your market. You could run some ads.
I'd love to see you in a smoky eye, Patrick.
Yeah. Maybe if we have enough quarantine and I get enough votes for it, maybe I'll let Janice come on a Zoom and teach me how to do a smoky eye, right? But you see, like you could do an ad to moms who have kids at home. You could spend $5 a day on a YouTube ad and go, hey, moms, you stuck at home, bored, want to have a little you time? Why not master your own makeup? I'm going to teach you how to do X, Y, and Z so that you can have a date night at home with your husband and then get all dressed up and nice because you can't go anywhere, right? So that's my addition to it. That's as far as how to use it or anything else, that's that my expertise ends at how to get attention. So great question, Janice. Thanks for that. Looks like we've got, so Chris, let's see, Chris has a question about how about the live event industry, like conferences or weddings?
So again, like, what are the questions that people are asking that I've never asked before? People are still getting married or still want to get married. And so even if they've postponed their wedding, what do those questions mean? Is like, I'm doing a live stream later today at 4 on force majeure clauses for freelancers. Like, that's a big one in events. Like, what are my obligations to my vendors if I'm having a wedding or if I run a live event? Like, what do my contracts say? That's a big question that people have. When is the best time to reschedule the wedding? And if I was going to get married this month, when is the next time going to be? What's the good time to do it? And should I start booking venues now? The answer is obviously going to be yes, because like Patrick said, just like travel, there's going to be run on events. Thousands and thousands of events have been canceled over the last several weeks. And so come fall, it's going to be crazy. Every hotel is going to be crazy booked up, starting to plan for fall events or fall weddings now. Those are huge. If you work with clients in that industry, we're not going to just sit around and do nothing for the next couple of months while this is happening. So what can we be doing now to prepare for the fact that we're all going to be swamped in the fall? There's a lot of questions, surrounding what do we do? Or in live events, a huge question is people, and I saw this in a thread of, I host these monthly events through the Freelancers Union, and nobody knows how to do live workshops. And I just didn't realize that me switching a live event to now it's a Zoom call, it's super easy. I do that all the time. But for the vast majority of people, if I had a conference or if I even had a meeting for 20 people, I have no idea how to convert that to a virtual thing. That's a huge opportunity for content and for goodwill. Is hey, let me show you how to set up Zoom. I'll hop on a call with you for a half hour. I'll show you how to set up Zoom. I'll show you how to send a link to your audience and how to kind of even arrange the room so that it makes sense. These are all things that people are I don't even know where to start with this stuff. So again, a lot of opportunities. Start thinking about those questions. What is your market asking that they've never asked before?
And what problems do you anticipate? Or what problems are we seeing? So like you're saying, where it's you're dealing with the force majeure stuff, and how can you fix those, say 2-3 months down the road? And just to add to what you're saying, Abby, if I were in live events right now, I would be contacting major venues and start a conversation. I'd get into a relationship with the managers who you would book with. I would get in with travel agents who have an abundance of time. I would start coordinating with all these people, say, look, here's what I'm doing. I'm putting together this Rolodex. So when people want to schedule their live event, I want it to be push button easy. And then you could have your offer could be, and again, just riffing here, your offer could be something where hey, in the event of another pandemic, we've got you, we have a backup plan already built into when I plan your event. I've got travel agents who will coordinate travel because airline's going to be really inexpensive, but there's going to be a run on it. They're going to coordinate that travel. I've already got the relationship with all these venues. Here are 10 venues that are within 500 miles of 80% of your customers. And in the event that event gets canceled for a national emergency, because that's going to be in the forefront of people's minds for the next 5 or 10 years, we build in a backup scenario, and you get with Abby, who helps you with the contract, where the backup scenario is, then, we do this thing live and we help you with all the setup, put you in a studio and make the best version of that. So again, that's just, how can you think, and anybody on here and watching this live or recorded, how can you borrow from other industries for your current situation? How can you connect with other industries who are hurting right now and try to see the forest through the trees? That would be my perspective on it. Great question.
Awesome.
All right. Wow. Awesome. Yeah, this is great. Look, I don't see any other questions. We've got about 30 people on here live. Did you want to go? Do you have any other slides you want to go through, Abby?
Yeah, there's a couple more.
Awesome. I got a little question.
One thing I find myself repeating all the time is, and for perspective, is like, we are they. And what I mean by that is you always hear people saying they should really do this. And I'm hearing this a lot with like, I'm waiting for the government to do this. I'm waiting for, the governor to pass an unemployment law for freelancers. I'm waiting for, they should do this, or the restaurants should do this, or they, there is no they. We are they. And this picture that's here is a picture of my freelance co-op before we moved in. And this was one of the buildings in town that everyone was like, they should really fix up that building. And I'd driven by it, for literally 30 years and said, that building is like, that storefront looks terrible. They should really fix it up. Well, nobody's going to do it. Like, it's just me. And so this is what it looked like during our grand opening. Like, we put just a ton of work into it, and now it's one of the prettiest storefronts. There's a pizza shop now next door. Like, this whole storefront and the area in front of it is all completely redone. It's like, because I stopped waiting for somebody else to fix up downtown Oneida. Like, it had to, be done. So, thinking of like, if you catch yourself saying, you know what they should do, start to think about like how you can become they, how you can help that happen. And, kind of waiting for somebody to save you or waiting for things to get better, again, like, just keep moving forward and start taking those steps like we talked about earlier. And so this was a question Ross asked me on Monday, like, what is now the best time for? If you've got more time on your hands, this is the best time to put aside time and start publishing content. If you've never experimented with ads before, now is the best time for that. There's a lot of things that this is not a good time for, running live events, but it is the best time to start learning how to host virtual events or to run ads. And so it's just kind of different versions of the same question. What is now the best time for you to do something? And for your market too, it's the best time for your market to learn how lighting works with makeup, or to, clean out their makeup drawer, or whatever it is. What is the best time for your market right now?
Well, it's not the best time for any of us. Right. So what is now the best time for it? Well, it's to plan, I would say. Wouldn't you agree? It's just, to sum into one word, plan.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
If you've got time, you can start to really think about how to shore up your business, how to like make your business stronger after this. The businesses that came through the 2008 recession were stronger because of it. And, a lot of businesses didn't make it, but the ones that did were in such a better position, and they're in a better position to deal with what we're dealing with now than they would have been had that never happened, because they were able to plan and start to say, where are the holes? Because we're seeing the holes now.
Yeah. Where are the holes? Where are the opportunities? Absolutely. And just to add to that, the ones that doubled down on advertising and marketing were the ones that survived.
Yep.
Right. So it's kind of counterintuitive, and I see this with financial, like bankers and investment people want to cut. The first thing they want to cut is advertising. That's like cutting off air for us. We're going to die if we can't breathe. Okay. Your business does not survive without marketing. So just real quick before we go to the next slide, marketing and advertising are different. Marketing is the relationship. Like what we're doing in this live thing is marketing. Okay. There's no cost to this. This is just connecting with our customers. Advertising is when you're paying to communicate with your customers. Okay. So the ones that stop marketing and stop advertising are the ones that die in these type of economic situations. So very passionate about that. I want to make sure don't make the same mistake. It was 170,000 plus businesses folded between 2008, 2010. Don't be the ones that pull back on marketing. You want to double down on it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, can I get one question in before we move to the next slide?
Yeah, let's do it.
Antoinette asked, she's curious, because this is one I have a lot of experience with in the past. It's a difficult market, but I can give you some ideas. Antoinette says, I'm curious about the take on health and fitness and nutrition industry. A lot of businesses are offering at-home workouts and guides. How can I further be of service? What are your thoughts on that one, Abby?
Yeah, so a couple things that just pop into my head. So number one, like not only homework, so one thing people think about competition when they think about it backwards, like a lot of people are offering home workout guides. It's like because a lot of people are looking for home workout guides. So just because there's a bunch of them out there doesn't mean you shouldn't publish one. That means that there's a market for it, and there's absolutely a market for home guides. One thing, actually, I'll bring up the next slide just because this is relevant. One thing in the top right, it says "Don't Panic Pantry." This is a comedian that I follow. She's married to a chef, and she is doing live streams every night on Instagram with her husband on how to make meals with what you have in your house. And I love this because it's like, hey, if you can't get to the grocery store, your grocery store is emptied out, what do most people probably already have in their house, and what can you make out of it? And so like nutrition, when it comes to nutrition, like what do most people probably have in their house, and how can they make a good meal out of it? What do they have in their house that they can do workouts with? Like I saw our local coffee shop just this morning on Instagram stories. It had a picture of somebody holding a 5-pound bag of coffee and like doing, exercises with it. Like, what do you have around your house that you can do exercise? How can you do exercise with your kids that are home that usually have PE classes that don't have that right now? There's a ton of different, again, like what are those questions that people are asking that they've never asked before? How do I do workout with my kids? It's not necessarily a question that I was asking at the forefront of my mind, but now it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to that. Well, the guy with the 5-pound coffee, he's a lot faster after he drank the coffee. But, like for my kids, I have them do a 30-30 4 times a day. It's 30 burpees, 30 sit-ups, and then a full glass of water. I want them to do that 4 times a day so they keep moving, because they don't have, it's nicer today, but it's been rainy and cold. I want them moving their bodies. They need to have that physical activity that they would normally get at school. So Antoinette, what I would say to you is think about, what does your market desire? Abby said, like, what questions are they asking? What questions, questions lead to another question. Like you solve one problem, it leads to another. Okay. So we want to upgrade their problems to better problems, but what do they really desire? Okay. So people go to a gym a lot of times for community. All right. B, or number 2, we'll go with 2, 1 and 2. 1, they go for community. 2, they go to feel better. So when you work out, those endorphins, you start to feel good. It's good brain chemicals, right? And then 3, most people desire to lose some weight. So if you can serve your market and give them a way to stay connected in community, and you could get on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, you could do a live, like, I've been doing every day this week. Give people a chance to connect, at least see other people. You could do a workout. You could do a morning meditation where it's just you live, just going through some breathing techniques, just to give people that kind of community. And you could build your list. You're putting that goodwill into the market, and then you could invite them to a 20-minute workout. It could be in your garage. It doesn't have to be perfect, where you're giving that workout and say, okay, here's simple things you can do at home. If you have a 5-pound bag of coffee, or you have a gallon of water that you can use for a weight, or you can use a sofa and, do the bended arm dips, give them something to move their body. That's going to build that goodwill for your market. And that could be the precursor to your online coaching that you create. Or if you have a local gym, you could run specials and let people know, like, hey, we're struggling. Okay. So in an effort to stem what's going to be the loss for us, we're going to give for the next 3 months for people who sign up today. It'll start when this quarantine ends. We're going to give people 3 months at half off, because we need the injection of cash to pay our rent until we figure out what's going on, to float for the next 3 months. And in the unlikely event that something goes bad, we'll give you your money back. But again, I'm just riffing on offers where, acknowledge the reality that people are in, and then help them, and then speak to their desire, is something that I think that works in health, fitness, nutrition. That's really any business, but specific to health. I would do something every day to get people connected in a community, moving their bodies, feeling better. And yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. One conversation I had about nutrition this week was our mutual friend April had posted that, like, she just wants to eat carbs. And I started looking into this, and I was like, oh, it's because we're all like uncertain. And when your brain says to your body, like, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm a little scared, your body's like, oh, we better store up that shit, and because we might die and not have anything to eat. And so, like, how to, like, curb, coronavirus carb cravings, I just think, like, because I've been in the same boat of, like, it was just me and Casey, my partner, having dinner, and we went to the grocery store, and I bought literally a pork loin that was like 5 pounds for the two of us. And I like got home, and Casey was like, "Why did you buy such a big one?" And I'm like, I have no freaking idea. Like, no idea. It was just like my brain was like, you need all the food.
Like, you're going to be hunting and running 50 miles. Carb up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. Gosh. All right, well, this is great stuff. We've got a few more questions, but let's get through these slides, and I'll
I don't know how much. Yeah. So basically, this is just a couple examples. So one, Harpoon's Publishing. It's a guy that makes cartoons for people. He's doing a live stream every day for drawing lessons for kids. I talked about the Don't Panic Pantry, and then down on the right is a local cafe here, Hipster Cafe. They're doing $3 lunches for school age kids, and so like these are all new problems that didn't happen. Again, like art classes for kids are not happening. $3 school age lunches. Just some examples of what people are already doing, and you can steal these for your industry.
Yeah,
and then
working. Yep.
And then I think. Yeah, so basically the last part is what advantages do you have? My advantage is I have experience doing online live streams and online business. Like I have experience of being home. I know like that's one advantage that I have. You have advantages. What are your advantages? It's an advantage that you're a small business or a freelancer right now because you're nimble. You can move way quicker than like Johnson & Johnson or something. Like you have an advantage in this market. And so you can change and shift and change your market. I've had a lot of conversations with copywriters that are like, my market was X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, like, why don't you write for other people now, different people? You can switch niches. There's no like rule that says like, there's no rule that says you like, once you decide you work for travel agents, that's like what you work for forever. Like, where can you take those advantages in other industries as well? And then just closing.
Part of it you talked about when you have an abundance of time and you quiet your mind, you rest, you never know. You go back, you know what? I really enjoyed playing music when I was younger. Maybe I'll try that industry, or maybe I'll do something. Because if you have an abundance of time, go back to you have talents that you've probably forgotten. I know I do.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to go right for the yo-yo industry because I was,
You might. Who knows? Who knows? People got yo-yos in their house somewhere.
You never know where things going right now. So
turning yo-yo into a weapon to guard your
survival self-defense yo-yo 2000.kids.
There you go. Love it. And then just closing, like this is the last slide, but you are the subject of your story, not the object. So, for grammar nerds out there, like you're the one that makes the action happen. You're not the one that things happen to in your story. And so waiting for, the coronavirus thing happened to all of us, but like we now are the subject of the story. So what are we going to do about it? And so thinking about that of like, things don't happen to you, you make things happen. And, that was just basically how it closed, is like thinking about yourself as not somebody that's like a victim of these circumstances. We're all in the same circumstances. So like, what are you going to do about it?
Yep. We move the mountain and it does not move us. Absolutely. Yep. Well, thank you so much, Abby. That's fantastic. You want to grab one more question?
Yeah, let's take it. And anybody has questions? Like I got time.
So Jeff says, any thoughts on how you can still provide value to your industry when your previous business sold a physical good? Is somehow digitizing your goods or now selling the process by which you make those goods? Again, I'm teaching your best option, any other options?
I would love first, Jeff, if you got like a little bit more specific, that would be great. Cause like, I'm not sure if you're in e-commerce or you're like crafting, or I'm not quite sure what we're talking about. Just like in general though, I would say physical goods. Like I had a couple screenshots that I had saved too, but that I didn't end up putting in my slides, of like 5 different people that had posted like, I cannot stop buying stuff online. Like people are home and bored and want to buy stuff. So if you have physical goods and you can sell them online, awesome. If you're somebody that's doing something and you want to sell that process, I'm always, and I know Patrick being the YouTube guy is like going to say the same thing. I'm always a fan of, yes, document your process and share it with people, because that builds connections. Yeah. 3D printing, like that's awesome. Like there's so much education there that you could do. Like I got my son a 3D printer a while back, and we've never opened it just because time-wise, like I don't even know where to start. But yeah, documenting your process builds connection, builds authority. If you work with like bigger clients, not just like B2C, but you're working with businesses and entertainment companies, that's going to build your authority where they're looking for like, hey, 3D printed props. When they're looking for that and they see 10 YouTube videos of projects that you've done, that's going to be so much more powerful than just having a website or just having a LinkedIn profile or something.
And add to that, I mean, that's, Jeff, I hope you took notes on that because that's fantastic advice from Abby. I'll go just a little tactical on it. I would go on TikTok and I would do like I would do some of your 3D printing. I would do them in like the stop motion if you can. Learn how the hashtags work on TikTok because that's free traffic and it's exploding right now because the entertainment industry, you never know who's going to be paying attention to that, which is a lot of entertainment people. And also, if you're connecting with, first off, there's two things. The entertainment industry is now every parent at home with children. Okay. Think, how can I go direct to consumer? How can I put, dare I say, a sales page with persuasive copy, target people using, I don't know, a YouTube ad and sell them on the entertainment value. So you could 3D print props for, like you could do He-Man, you could do all kinds. I mean, He-Man, I'm kind of dating myself, but you could do all kinds of different like G.I. Joes or Legos, whatever kind of characters that these kids want, or Minecraft or anything else, and sell to the new entertainment industry, which are the parents that are bored at home trying to keep their kids occupied with things to do, especially in the coming weekend. There are millions of parents going, what am I supposed to do this weekend? There's no camps. There's no soccer. There's no basketball. There's no hockey. I can't do anything. Sit at home. Netflix has already been asked to slow down their streaming. Like, there's a huge opportunity there. The other thing tactically that I will say is I would be communicating with my market. So if you want to sell 3D props for the entertainment industry and you have mass buyers, communicate with them. Hey, let's plan for what's going to happen in May. Let's plan for what's happening in June. Let's talk about what's going to happen here so that I can be ready to print this stuff when all of the dust settles on this. Plan. A great question, Jeff. Thanks for that. All right. I think that is it for everybody. We're at about an hour, so I'm going to wrap up if there are no other questions. Abby, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. This has been really helpful for me. And if you're on the live stream, please thank Abby for her generous gift of time, putting great things into the market. And please, here, I'll put this back out there. Please, if you feel so blessed to donate to the Freelance Co-op, $5 makes a difference. Not to sound like a telethon or anything like that, but any amount that you can give to this fund. There are so many people that Abby has spoken with, the applications that are coming in of people that are in desperate need. So if you can give any amount to that, it's greatly appreciated. Abby will speak with you on strategy for 10 to 15 minutes as a thanks for your receipt. And I will do the same. I'll do a 15-minute consult, give you some ideas on YouTube ads. We can go tactically, specifically for your business. And that is it. The other thing I'll say is yesterday I did a 5 o'clock live stream specifically on YouTube ads. So it was an epic fail. And this is an example of you can fail and still win. You just have to keep moving because it's life. Stuff doesn't go the way we want it to sometimes. But I'm going to go back to the drawing board today at 5 and make sure that my sound is working. I'm going to teach you all how to get clients and customers with YouTube ads, spending as little as it says $10 a day, but you can start at $5 a day. So how to get clients and customers with YouTube ads, spending as little as $10 a day. That's at 5 o'clock today. Live stream, show up live. I'll answer some questions if you want to learn how to do that, or you can catch the replay. And then on Saturday, Brian McCarthy, our mutual friend Brian McCarthy, is going to teach you how to use customer case studies in our marketing. So you have time to build and plan and scheme and all that stuff. Case studies are massively powerful for your marketing. I use them. You're probably going to see one of my remarketing testimonial case studies. He's going to come on tomorrow and teach us about that. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Abby, any parting thoughts of wisdom?
No, this was awesome, and I really appreciate you putting this series together. It's been amazing, and if anybody hasn't seen the prior ones, they're awesome. It's a group of people that I really love, and I'm really excited that you're putting this together. So,
Oh, it's my pleasure. That's just trying to put goodwill in the world. So thank you so much for coming on, and yeah, these have been fun. So we'll have to keep these up. So awesome. Well, freelancecoop.org, my friends. Please go check that out. Check out what Abbey's doing. If you're watching this after the dust has settled and the fund is closed, please check out the Freelance Co-op anyway, because Abbey's doing amazing stuff there. And you all have a wonderful Friday. I'll see you all back here at 5. Have a great weekend.
bye.